Happy Mardi Gras Eve. Bet you never heard that one before. Yeah, I can be a little silly like that sometimes. Birthday Eve, Mardi Gras Eve. So the big thing is this Wednesday, Lent. You know, Lent starts this Wednesday. But right now you're listening to the Catholic Lunch Break here on AM 1430 KSHJ. This is where we catch up on everything Catholic in Houston. It's going to be a fun show today. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot of fun things going on coming up. And joining me, my name is Tim Mott, by the way. I'm your host for today. But joining me is David Magallanes running the board there. How you doing, David?
I'm doing well. Good.
This on the Guadalupe Radio Network. This is the Good News Show.
And good afternoon. This is the Good News Show, KATH 9:10 a.m., Guadalupe Radio Network. Glad you're with us. Beautiful, beautiful day. Gosh, I stepped outside today and I just said, praise God. I mean, this is just awesome weather, especially for February, late February, almost March. And do not forget that we are 2 days away from the beginning of Lent. I bet nobody forgot that, but it doesn't hurt to have another little reminder, right? Well, you know, we've got a really packed show, and I'm so excited about this because in the second half of the show today, we have what's called our University of Dallas segment. And we always welcome in Dr. Jonathan Sanford. He is the provost and also a professor of philosophy at the University of Dallas. I was there yesterday. Olivia was there. Olivia Franklin, of course, here, was there Saturday. And so I was telling everybody at UD as we gave a talk out to all the masses, I said, tune in tomorrow at 12:30 because your provost is going to be on. And so more on that in just a moment. Dr. Sanford is going to introduce us to Professor Kyle Lemieux from the drama department. And he's going to be talking about Sophocles' Antigone, which is going to be performed at UD soon.
Oh.
Okay, you familiar with Sophocles' Antigone?
I know how to pronounce both of them.
Okay. I remember reading it back in its original Greek. I'll tell you, it was just amazing. No, I'm kidding. I only read things in their original language. I don't do any of this English stuff, you know. But no, I'm absolutely kidding. So, anyways, so he's going to be on the second half, and I'm so excited. And this all came together kind of quickly. My friend Heidi Marr, who is the development director at Mount St. Michael Catholic School in Dallas, last year, you might remember, put on this amazing event, which is this year is called Courageous Truth. It basically is a Courageous Truth conference for young people, from middle schoolers to young adults, where we learn, as they say in their tagline, to apologetics without apology, because it's so hard in this day and age to defend traditional marriage because people think you're crazy, or
Amen.
to defend life, the sanctity of life from conception to natural death, and all the other teachings of the church. But Heidi has taken the bull by the horns and said, you know what, I'm going to, and last year was just phenomenally successful, and we had her and the speakers in. We're going to do it again. And so Patrick Coffin is the keynote speaker. Studio. He's a recent graduate of University of Texas at Austin, and he's a full-time magician. And he's going to be the MC, and I'm sure he's going to be doing some magic tricks. He's even going to do one during the show today, which, by the way, reminds me, Diane is here. Diane isn't typically here on Mondays, but that means we're set up on Facebook and YouTube. Just Facebook, Diane, or every? Okay, YouTube and Twitter, and so we're kind of like, you know, a magic trick on the radio. Well, you can go and watch it and see Giancarlo. So we'll be start to talk to them at about 10 after. Okay, so if you want to join on the conversation for any reason, call up, and you're always welcome to do so. 877-757 9424, 877-757-9424. All right, talk for 30 seconds, Olivia, because I got a little something in my throat. So,
I could
Olivia
laugh for 30 seconds. Hi, Dave. Had a great weekend. We all had a great weekend. It's always fun to go out to the parishes and sell the tickets, but also meet these people and have conversations. And, you know, I like to keep an ear cocked towards great future interviews of the week. So I put the bug in someone we both know, her ear, about an interview of the week.
Well, I was at the Regina Chaley event on Friday night out in Watauga, and I ran into our friend Camille Holcomb. Do you remember her?
Oh, Camille.
And you had
Hi,
met
Camille.
I don't know if she's listening, but
I
you
know,
met her a year ago at the Holy Family of Nazareth,
Right.
and she's thinking about sending her kids to RCA.
Oh, wonderful.
So anyways, I do want to talk about our parish talks this past weekend because 6 parishes invited us out, and we were at Holy Cross Parish in the Colony, St. Anthony Parish in Wiley, Immaculate Conception in Grand Prairie, the UD Chapel of the Incarnation on the UD campus, also St. Vincent de Paul in Arlington, and Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Dallas. Now, you were at 2 of those. You were in Grand Prairie and also at UD. Any thoughts?
I had a wonderful time at UD with the people that came up and visited. But it was mostly business.
Yeah.
But at Immaculate Conception, I really got to have some good conversations and heard a fabulous homily at Immaculate Conception from Father. Oh, it just wonderful. And then, of course, our friend Sister Maria of the Holy Trinity and Gospel of Life Dwelling. So I went over there to have lunch. I met a young man who was essentially mentored by my first cousin at St. Mary's at Texas A&M.
Oh, is that right?
So, the Catholic family, you got to love it.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell a quick story. And then Sissel was at UD as well. She can talk about any highlights of her time there as well. So I'm out at St. Vincent de Paul in Arlington, and you know this story, but I got to tell the audience about it because it's so amazing. And I'm having a problem with my radiator. It's leaking, right? So I'm waiting because I wasn't actually participating in the Mass. I went to Mass on Sunday, but so I'm outside in the parking lot. I have my hood up, and I'm kind of looking at it. A guy walks up with 3 little kids, and he basically is almost like a guardian angel because he totally could diagnose what was wrong with my car. He took the time to be there, and he was telling me this, and this is probably the problem. And I was like, thank you so much. I said, you're like my guardian angel. He goes in, and then after the Mass, his wife comes up to me. I know that because she was with him. And I said, how many tickets would you like? And she said, I'll take $900 worth. And I'm like, wait, let me clear the wax out of my ear. Did you just say you wanted 9? And your husband was the guy helping me with my car before Mass started, and $900. I've never sold more than $200, and so. Anyways, I won't say her name because, she didn't give me permission to announce to the whole world that she did that. But I thank her so much. I thank everybody. The lady this morning that called me who was at UD and actually met Sissel and said she didn't have a credit card. But,
yeah.
She called me. And,
I'm so glad she called you.
Yeah, and
Good,
bought
I'm
a
glad.
ticket. And so, anyway, Sissel, any highlights from your time?
Oh, I just had a wonderful time. It was actually my first time going into the chapel there at UD. So I went to the 9 a.m. Mass and the 11 a.m. Mass. The 9 a.m. Mass, I got to meet a whole bunch of wonderful people. 11 a.m. Mass was a lot more college students, so that was kind of fun to be among my peers. Saw Jeff Scheffelbein, who has our show on Undivided Attention. He was there and stopped by and said hi. So it was kind of fun. I got to see a lot of friends and meet new friends. So
Awesome. And so, so thanks to all those pastors. I just am so thankful. Father Thomas Moore Barbara from UD and Father Joy Joseph. And when your name's Joy, you better be a joyful guy, and he really is. Father Joy Joseph is from India, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful man, wonderful priest, and want to thank them all. They have I don't know his name, but there's an African priest who's the pastor of St. Vincent de Paul in Arlington. I met him, but I didn't really speak with him. But just joyful. These African priests are just amazing. Mm-hmm. And of course, Our Lady of Perpetual Help and St. Anthony in Wiley. Father Tony Densmore. Diane went out there on Saturday and said she had a good time as well, thanks to Mike Cole. And so many people make this happen. But I will tell you, the drawing is next Friday. The end of raffle tickets sales is next Monday. So you have exactly 7 days to buy your tickets, okay?
Ooh.
And that's it. And it's going great. And we've sold a lot of tickets. And so we're so thankful to everybody who has supported it. So anything else?
Just jump in here and even if it's the 11th hour, jump in here and get your raffle tickets, because whether you care about a car, you care about souls, and you never know what keeping Catholic radio on the air, it just offers so many things. We don't even have enough time to talk about it, but you're fixing to hear some of it, so listen on.
And by the way, Sissel's putting these really cool spots together. This weekend, final weekend, Holy Family of Nazareth in Irving, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Parish in Keller, St. Michael in Bedford, and also St. Jude in Allen. Those are 4 big parishes to close out our raffle ticket raffle sales. And then Sissel, we got to go, but Sissel wants you to sign up for the Facebook page. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, that's it.
Local's Facebook page. And we're going to have a goal of maybe 10 or 15 people signing up for the local North Texas Facebook page. All right, so that's it. And let's take a 1-minute break. We're going to get Patrick Coffin on the line from Patrick Coffin Media, and we're going to talk about this amazing event. I didn't even tell you when it was. Friday, March 27th, Saturday, March 28th, so you still have a little over a month to get your tickets and get your young middle schoolers to young adults there. Courageous Truth, Apologetics Without Apology. Patrick Coffin, Heidi Marr, and also Giancarlo Bernini joining me right after this. Just as Mary and Joseph took Jesus to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord, you can present your marriage to the Lord. Strengthen, renew, and rekindle your marriage sacrament by attending a worldwide marriage encounter weekend. Come and experience the beauty of your sacramental marriage in a whole new way. The next retreat is Friday, March 27th through Sunday, March 29th. To apply for a weekend, visit dfwme.org/apply or call 469-444-0904.
Visit the St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores and save big every day. The St. Vincent de Paul thrift store has thousands of name brand items priced under $5. That's thousands of items priced under $5. Women's, men's, and children's clothing, furniture, home decor, and more. All at extremely low prices. With 2 locations at Northwest Highway behind Love Field and in Plano off 75 and Parker Road. Visit the St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores and save big every day. Mention this ad and save 40% off your entire thrift store purchase.
All right, we're back, and this is the Good News Show. Thanks for joining us. Phone number is 877-757-9424, 877-757-9424. All right, I want everybody to really be aware of this event coming up. Again, it's Friday, March 27th from 6:30 to 9:30, Saturday, March 28th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Courageous Truth, Apologetics Without Apology 2020, Becoming the Holy and Courageous Men and Women and Men that God calls us to be. And I'm so happy that Heidi Marr, the development director at Mount St. Michael Catholic School, is here with us in studio. She brought Giancarlo Bernini, who's the MC, and also the magician for the event, and another magician, Patrick Coffin, who Sissel is working on getting. So, all right. So, Heidi, thanks for coming in. Tell us again, remind people how you were inspired to begin this event last year.
Sure. I having 3 teenage boys myself, I just felt like there was a real deficit of guidance and clarity for them on some of the most difficult issues that they are facing in the culture today, specifically all of the things related to sexuality and gender. And I really wanted to provide them that guidance and a forum in which they could ask questions, and with some Catholic leaders that are really respected and that have a lot of great knowledge to share, and give them the tools and the courage to stand up for those truths. And so that's how this was born.
Yeah. The culture really pounds us with this. It makes us feel very weak and very inadequate if we want to defend the Catholic Church's teachings. And we got to be honest, even sometimes some members of the leadership of the Catholic Church do not appear to be supporting the traditional values and morals. And it leaves us scratching our head like, gosh, I don't even know. I know, because I think this is all natural law. We know the truth, but we want the support. But sometimes we just have to go out there like you're doing and saying, we're just going to get the truth out there. And once the kids hear the truth, like they say, people are suckers for the truth, because we understand that it's true, and it needs to be defended.
Yeah, and I think when you're in a culture of moral relativism, kids are easily swayed into those ideas, and they need someone that's going to be speaking truth clearly to them, and showing how moral relativism just really does break down upon itself when you piece it apart. And so that's what we're trying to do here, is to really show them clearly how that truth works out, and why that is the true path to salvation and freedom.
All right. So last year you had Ave Maria Santo.
Avera Maria Santo.
Avera Maria Santo. You had Dr. Peter Craft, Monica Ashauer. See how much I remember the whole event.
Very good.
And my daughter went. And so this year you're thinking, okay, I want another awesome event. I want to, and I wanted you to introduce Giancarlo Bernini, because you had said that some people had been to a previous event with him and said, you got to get this guy.
Right.
So tell us about him.
So I heard about Giancarlo Bernini after the Steubenville Lone Star conference last spring, and a couple of kids that had been to the symposium texted me after the Lone Star Steubenville event and said, you've got to get this guy, Giancarlo Bernini. He was so great. And there's a lot of speakers at that conference, so this one, Giancarlo was really the one that they had honed in on and really enjoyed. So I was excited to get in touch with him, and I was excited that he wanted to get involved.
Yeah. So I'm meeting you for the first time, Giancarlo Bonini. First of all, great name. And so I mentioned just graduated from UT Austin, full-time magician. That's so awesome that you're able to actually make a living off this. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sorry, well, thank you so much for having me here. I graduated from UT this past May, and was a religious studies major there. Was always kind of, throughout college discerning whether I was discerning between priesthood or magic full time, which is a very weird thing to be. That's very true. I remember lots of those conversations. But I've been interested in illusions and magic. Since I was a little kid, I'd watch all the David Copperfield specials and all that on TV. With magic, it's always you're always interested in how things work and what's happening behind the scenes, and especially as a magician, you kind of know the secret behind everything. And in my life, I was always approaching things from that avenue of seeking kind of the truth behind everything and understanding it, and then being able to share it with people. And that's kind of what got me interested in apologetics when I got into high school. I was really questioning things, and I was a very skeptical person. I still consider myself someone who questions everything because of my background in illusions and magic. And I was very surprised to find that the Catholic Church had a lot of answers to a lot of my questions. Yeah. And diving into apologetics, I learned a lot about.
Yeah, so we're trying to get Patrick Coffin. We got a few different phone numbers that we're trying. So Sissel is feverishly, and Heidi, if you need to confirm with the phone number with Sissel, you can do that because I sent the one that I had that you had sent me. But anyways, I'd asked you about doing an actual magic trick on the radio. And, of course, it sounds kind of silly doing a magic trick on the radio. But you can actually do it. And, of course, we're on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. So you got a kind of short little card trick that you can do with Heidi, and you can do the play-by-play as well, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so if you're watching on Facebook, this is Giancarlo Bonini and Bernini, I'm sorry, and he's third time's a charm doing a card trick. So, all right, take it away.
Absolutely. So I've got a deck of cards here, and those of you watching online can confirm the deck of cards. All the cards are different. The cards are all shuffled, and Heidi can see this as well. Right. I'll go through the cards, and if you would just say stop on any card wherever you like.
Okay, stop.
Right there. Would you like to keep that card or change your mind?
No, that's good.
All right, perfect. Go ahead.
Can I grab
Take
it?
the card.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the sake of time, don't change your mind, okay?
That's right. Place the card back anywhere. Doesn't really matter because all I want you to do is just think about your card.
Okay.
And I'm going to think about the color of the card.
Okay.
This was likely a red card, yes?
Yes, it is.
Think about whether that was a diamond or a heart. Oh, definitely a heart.
Wow.
Could you just right into the microphone? Would you just count to 10 out loud?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
See, I don't know if anybody listening could hear this, but there's a slight hesitation right there on the 5. Would you say your card was the 5 of hearts? Is that true?
Yes, it was the 5 of hearts.
So she's.
I swear he didn't see that card.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so how are you going to incorporate this into your emceeing, or because you're going to have how many people there, Heidi, at this event?
Last year we had over 300 youth and over 60, 70 adults. So
so
close to 400.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're going to get a little bit of everything. Get some magic from Giancarlo. You're going to get Patrick Coffin. It looks like we're having a hard time getting Patrick.
That's okay.
Why don't you tell us?
Plenty to talk about.
Patrick has amazed me. Of course, people know him because he used to be the host of Catholic Answers Live for many years. And then he went off and he started Patrick Coffin Media. He's got the Patrick Coffin Show. And he really is bold, I must say. He goes there. He goes where some people don't want to go. And sometimes the truth is painful to tell. But tell us why you chose him as your keynote.
Well, I met Patrick a couple of years ago when he was the keynote speaker for the Mount St. Michael banquet. And I was actually his driver. And it was just a comedy of errors that I ended up being the driver. And I was so glad because in that conversation, I talked about how there was just this, there was a lack of youth apologetics that could really speak to youth. And he was really interested in it as well. So we really hit it off. He met my oldest son. And through the last year or two, we just had become friends. And we're talking more and more about apologetics. I went to a camp that he attended with his daughter as well, an apologetics camp in Boise, Idaho. And so anyway, I'm super thrilled that he is going to be our keynote this year because he really played an integral role in kind of my inspiration to get this started. And he's just, like you said, he is willing to say things that other people are not willing to say, and to go in places that other people are not willing to go. So I'm really
Father Nathan Dale, is that right?
I
And
love
also
this.
another speaker that isn't on the flyer yet. Tell us about them.
Okay, so Father Nathan Dale was actually a speaker at the apologetics camp that my sons and I and another Irving family attended in Boise, Idaho this past summer, and I had been trying to find some speakers for this year, and he in fact. He spoke in front of a fire in front of all these kids, and he talked about sexuality, and he talked about gender, and he talked about men and boys, really embracing authentic masculinity, and he talked about what girls should be looking for in boys. And my oldest son was standing next to me, and he looked over and he said, "Can we get him at the symposium?" And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually came up with the theme standing there that night, and I asked him to do it, and that is why we're having a bonfire this year, because it was such a beautiful moment with him in front of that fire.
Yeah.
All of the kids were covered in a kind of a shroud of darkness while
Yeah.
he talked about these things that are a little bit touchy and
Yeah.
a little bit awkward, and they all were focused on him, and he's truly, truly amazing and profound what
Yeah.
he provides. So
And another speaker as well, somebody that I'm
Yes.
familiar with because I've interviewed her on in this studio.
I am so excited also that we have just added Ashley Januszewski to the lineup. She was at our symposium last year and did a talk for the parents on pornography. She has a vast amount of knowledge on the pitfalls and perils of pornography, and she is honestly one of the best presenters I've ever heard. And so I approached her because I really felt like we needed to have a female voice in this symposium, especially when we're talking about gender this year.
Yeah.
And I said, I really want you to take this message to kids. And so she is going to be doing a talk on cyber sanctity.
Yeah. I want to bring Giancarlo Bernini back in the conversation. Graduated within the last year from UT Austin, not exactly a conservative hotbed. And I'm just wondering, a young guy, I think you said you're 23 years old. You told me that before we started. How do you kind of see the landscape as far as a solid Catholic guy who I presume follows all the teachings of the church and in a culture, especially in a place like Austin, where did you confront any antagonism or have to engage in some apologetics, or what's been your personal experience?
Right. Well, it's really interesting, especially on a campus like that, how tight-knit the Catholic community can get because it's so small and because,
Yeah.
where it's the minority. The Catholic ministry at UT is incredible and incredibly strong. And we had a lot of cool outreach events, and we really focused on making sure that we were approaching it from a place of love when met with antagonism, because yes,
Yeah.
there is a lot of, especially relativism is a huge thing that
Yeah.
we're fighting on college campuses all over the country. And so being able to say there is truth, there is absolute truth, and here's not only what we believe, but why we believe it and how we approach this was fun. And then, getting to do, magic and stuff to kind of get people interested, and not as like a, here's something to kind of draw your attention in, now let's talk about this, but
Yeah.
actually using the magic as a metaphor, as an illustration for some of the things that we wanted to get across was always incredible. We had an apologetics training program going on. A lot of so there's a lot of movement going on because of that, culture in Austin. There was a lot of opportunity to engage in apologetics, which so it's kind of like
Yeah.
double-sided.
Right. And I got to think, unless somebody just for some reason like, oh, I don't like magic, I think there have been Catholic saints who've been magicians.
Yeah.
And is it Bosco or who was the
Yes,
one?
St. John Bosco,
John
the patron
Bosco.
saint of magicians.
Yeah.
just has feast day
But
on-
I was just going to say, I think the appeal of magic is universal. I can't imagine you going up to many people, hey, under most circumstances, you guys want to see a magic trick? No. It's fascinating. I think people are generally fascinated with that. And so, like you say, it's a good way to draw people in. And Patrick Alex, a magician himself. Let me go back to Heidi. Well, unfortunately, we're not able to get Patrick on, but we're going to do a different interview
we'll
with
do
him
another one with
sometime, another time. Again, we're talking about the Courageous Truth Apologetics Without Apology 2020 conference, becoming the holy and courageous women and men that God calls us to be. Mature middle schoolers to young adults, Friday, March 27th in the evening, 6:30 to 9:30, and then Saturday, March 28th, all day, 8 to 4. My wife actually forwarded this to me and said, hey, our daughter went last year, and we want both of our daughters to go this year, which, one of our daughters is 11, one's 15. And so I want to ask you, and people listening are thinking, well, what's appropriate? What age? How graphic is the conversation going to be? What would you say? Who's this for?
I don't feel like there's going to be graphic conversation, and whether we as parents like to realize it or not, a lot of our kids know things long before we think they know them.
Yeah.
And so, as a really wise woman once told me, your children are sponges, and you should fill their sponge first. Don't let someone else do it for you. So, best that we control that conversation and we give them the information that we want them to hear first, so everything else runs off.
Mm-hmm. So middle schoolers, pretty much any middle schooler, 6th, 7th, 8th graders.
6th, 7th, 8th. We had kids from 6th grade all the way into college last year.
Now, what if somebody...
I had college kids just as excited about being there, and were surprised how excited they were once it was over, to the younger ones as well.
And parents say, I'm going to bring my 6th, 7th grader, but I want to go as well. Can parents participate?
Parents can attend as well, and we also will have a parent symposium where the speakers will be talking to the parents specifically at their level.
Oh, okay.
So they can choose to be with their youth, or they can go to the parent symposium.
All right, it's going to be at Mount St. Michael Catholic School, where Heidi serves as Director of Development, 4500 West Davis Street in Dallas. $40 for the youth, $80 for sibling group. Does that mean as many siblings?
Yes, that means if you have 2 or more siblings from the same family, then the most you would pay is $80.
All right, I like that. It won't help us much because we're sending 2, so I can bring my 6-year-old just to get a discount, right? No, I'm kidding. $40 for adults. It's courageoustruth.org. Courageoustruth.org. Again, Patrick Coffin will be the keynote speaker. Giancarlo Bernini is the MC. Father Nathan Dale, and I have
Ashley Januszewski.
Okay, yeah, you say that one. All right. I love the quote, Edith Stein, St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, do not accept anything as the truth if it lacks love. Do not accept anything as love which lacks truth. The truth and love and truth and mercy, sometimes people think there are 2 different doors you can go into, but they're really the same door, aren't they?
They are, and one without the other is going to be a futile attempt. So
yeah. So, all right, Giancarlo, anything else you want to say? Being a young guy yourself, words of encouragement for parents out there of why this is important for them to come themselves and also bring their middle school and up children.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited for the event, and I think that especially today, apologetics is one of the best ways to reach, anyone, or especially around high school, college age, who are really, really seeking answers. And I really encourage everyone to come who can come and make it, because really, I mean, some people it's through community, some people it's through beauty, some people it's through goodness, and some people it's through truth. That first, all of these are important, but the avenue through which you open yourself to these, sometimes you really have to hear some really good arguments and just open yourself up through something like this event, which is incredible that there's something like this.
Yeah, and we're in talks of possibly doing a live broadcast out there. I don't know if how possible that's going to be, but we are in negotiating.
Your daughters
that.
would think you were such a rock star.
I don't know if that'll ever happen. But all right, so courageoustruth.org. You mentioned just as far as topics, you mentioned gender issues, and you mentioned pornography with Ashley.
And Ashley will be talking about more than just pornography. She's going to be talking about trying to maintain holiness online.
Yeah.
So whether that's social media or all the different social apps that the kids are using, but also, the pitfalls of pornography and the dangers of that. Father Nathan will be talking about the beauty of holy masculinity and kind of fighting the culture on what is toxic masculinity, and the same for femininity. Like inspiring girls and young women, what is truly feminine. And then Patrick Coffin is going to be giving kind of a history of the sexual revolution, a historical perspective that helps the kids really understand kind of how we got to where we are today. It will really, I listened to this talk a couple years ago and was really impressed by it. So he'll be doing that. And then obviously we'll have Giancarlo Bernini, bringing us truth and illusion. Through illusion.
That's awesome. And, Monica Ashour, one of your speakers from last year, she wrote this beautiful series of books on theology of the body. And we got some over the weekend. And my wife was reading them to our 6-year-old son. And, there are boys and there are girls. And as she's reading it, I couldn't help but think, this is actually controversial in our culture to be reading that. True. And I was like, wow, we are just really, just renegade countercultural zealots telling our son that there are boys and there are girls. And but that's where we are as a culture. And so all the more reason we need everybody to be come into this event, courageoustruth.org, and it likely will sell out. So don't say, I'll register in 3 weeks. You need to register quickly, right?
It did sell out very quickly last year. We had donors that sponsored basically the entire event last year. This year, there's a little bit higher fee. It's $40 per youth. So, probably will fill up a little bit slower, but we do expect it to sell out. So.
All right. Giancarlo, nice to meet you. Any last words before we let you go?
Oh, no, I'm really excited and looking forward to seeing everybody there.
All right. Thank you so much. Giancarlo Bernini and also Patrick Coffin. We couldn't get him, but like I said, we're going to have another interview with him. And Heidi Marr, who's is following the Holy Spirit and put on the second annual Courageous Truth, Apologetics Without Apology, Becoming the Holy and Courageous Women and Men That God Calls Us to Be. Visit courageoustruth.org. Again, it's for mature middle schoolers through the young adults and their parents. Friday, March 27th in the evening, and then Saturday, March 28th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to be there, and I hope you will be as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to come back with Dr. Jonathan Sanford, the provost of the University of Dallas, and also his guest, talking about Antigone. Is that what? Yeah, it's going to be an interesting conversation. So quick break, and we'll be back with the UD segment of the Good News Show right after this.
Did you know that on the first Saturday of every month, a Catholic Charities food truck brings perishable food from the North Texas Food Bank to St. Mark's in Plano to be distributed? You can get involved in 2 ways. First, you can come out to the parish to help with the distribution. Secondly, you can spread the word about this awesome ministry so that all who are in need will know about it. To register and to learn more, visit svdp-stmark.org/food. That's svdp-stmark.org/food.
Have you ever asked, what does the Knights of Columbus have to offer me? There is something for every Catholic family. Being a Knight of Columbus can mean protection through our highly rated life insurance program. It could mean getting involved in your council and parish. It could mean doing more Catholic family activities through our domestic church initiatives. There is something for everyone. Knights of Columbus is the leader in building up our church, and every Catholic man 18 years or older should join today online at knights.net. That's KNIGHTS.net.
Hi, this is Dave Palmer with a reminder to download the Guadalupe Radio Network app on your smartphone. It's very simple to do, and once you have the app on your phone, you can listen to a crystal clear signal of this station, KATH 910 AM, 24 hours a day, anywhere you are. If you have any questions about our app or need help setting it up on your phone, contact me through email, davepalmer@grnonline.com.
Hello, my name is Maury Buford, owner of Buford Roofing and Construction and a former player with the Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears. My wife and I are members of St. Francis of Assisi Parish in Grapevine and longtime supporters of the Guadalupe Radio Network. Buford Roofing provides residential and commercial roofing repairs and total replacements. We can be reached at 817-329-ROOF or online at bufordroofing.com. Have a wonderful day.
Amy is a real GRN listener, and so to help tell her story about buying a GRN raffle ticket, we hired an impersonator of LSU football coach Ed Ogeron.
When my husband and I found out we could support the GRN by buying a raffle ticket to win the new Cadillac CT5 Luxury, we called 888-784-3476 and bought 5 tickets for $100.
That's the best deal in America.
Later, my husband surprised me by buying even more tickets by going to grnonline.com.
You're a good man. Go Tigers. Para Car Care is a proud sponsor of KATH 910 AM. Here at Para Car Care, we are devoted to automotive maintenance and repairs for today's family on the go. Are you looking for that personal touch? Someone who'll listen to your problem and give you options that are manageable for you? We now have 2 locations to serve you. For the Euless area, 817-685-2222, and for the North Richland Hills area, 817-281-1388. We're on the web at parcarcare.com. Thank you and drive safely.
All right, this is the Good News Show, and thank you so much for tuning in. Phone number here, 877-757-9424, 877-757-9424. Cool thing is, if you go to the Guadalupe Radio Network Facebook page, you'll see that in various markets, like San Antonio is doing a show right now. I think John down in Alabama is doing a show, and so we have a lot of...
DC is as well.
Yeah, and which one?
DC is as well.
Yeah, DC.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool. We're all kind of doing our local shows. And so you got to kind of find out which one's North Texas. Okay. So anyways, I'm the guy in the blue shirt. But you'll see us. So go to Facebook and you can see it. And you also see our guests. Fourth Monday of every month, we are honored with our very strong relationship with the University of Dallas to welcome their provost, Dr. Jonathan Sanford, in studio with us, professor of philosophy and the provost there. And he always brings an interesting guest, an interesting topic, and today is no different. So, Dr. Sanford, thanks for coming in. Good to see you.
My pleasure. So happy to be with you again, Dave, and so glad to have the listeners tuning in as well. So my guest today is Professor Kyle Lemieux, who is a professor of drama at the University of Dallas, and I thought at first we'd give him a chance to introduce himself, and if you don't mind, Professor Lemieux, how is it that you fell in love with drama? I know you spent some time after you completed an MFA at UC, I think it was Santa Barbara, in the profession, and then found your way to teaching. But is this something you aimed to do when you first went to the University of Dallas?
In terms of coming back as a faculty member?
No, going into drama.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I, at a really early age, got the bug, as they say. Mm-hmm. And, gosh, it must have been 8th grade, and I auditioned for something because I didn't make the basketball team, and my parents said, you can't come home until 6 o'clock, and so I had to do that, and so I got cast in the first play I auditioned for, and just got the bug, and I haven't stopped doing it, mm-hmm. and I'm still really passionate about it. I'm still really passionate about participating and making theater, and I feel really, really fortunate that I'm losing all my hair and I'm still able to do this thing.
That's great. So, many of our listeners may not realize the extent to which the University of Dallas houses fine arts programs. We've got a number of studio arts, we've got music, we've got drama, and the approach to drama that we take is unique in many respects. So could you tell us, how would you characterize our approach to drama and theater?
Sure, it's actually really historically pretty unique. When our program was founded at University of Dallas, what was most common across the country was programs that had degrees in communication, and what was pitched to the faculty senate and then eventually to the administration and the board was a program that was primarily a BA in drama, a study, a way of learning via plays, both historically and in the contemporary landscape, as a way of understanding the human condition that extended from the current core curriculum at the time. Mm-hmm. So it was a very organic outgrowth of the core curriculum when it started, and that, of course, led to the kind of plays that we put on, the kind of plays that we read within the major program, and the plays that we offer for our community. And something else that's unique about our program in the kind of national landscape of theater and drama programs is we're a BA program, but our faculty all has terminal master's degrees, which means they're performance degrees. All our degrees are MFAs in our respective disciplines. Mine, for example, is in acting, and we have a colleague, MFA in directing and design. Mm-hmm. And so what that means is we've got this really rigorous academic program that's coupled with a really rigorous university theater program that, our faculty feels a lot more like a BFA faculty in a BA program. And so while we certainly aren't a BFA program by design and don't want to be, it is really exciting to be able to offer that kind of real-world professional experience to our students who do want to leave our program and then go on and pursue acting or directing or theater making in some capacity after UD, and many do.
Great. So I want to begin in just a few minutes to talk about Antigone, Sophocles' great tragedy that is going to be the main stage presentation, our big production for the spring, and you're the director of that. And you're working with a script that is based on a translation of Antigone made by classics professor Dr. Teresa Danzy, who happens to be relatively closely related to you, right? She's your wife, and it's you're quite a husband-wife combo. But maybe tell us a little bit about how that collaboration came about and what it's been like to work on this project.
Sure. It's funny. She studies, her area of discipline is tragedy, and specifically Sophoclean tragedy. She's studied it for over 20 years at this point, very closely, and has always had a deep love for Greek tragedies, particularly. And when she was doing her dissertation in Chicago, it became very clear to us that we would collaborate one day on doing original translations, which she would translate and we would adapt together. And that was really inspired by her mentor at the University of Chicago, Nicholas Ruddle, who was the founder of the Court Theater in Chicago, who also was a big influence for both of us. Personally became good friends with him when she finished as a student and remained friends with him until he passed away. And he kind of became an inspiration for us in terms of a mode and way of working on these plays and thinking out these plays specifically for performance versus like publication to study in a classroom, but something that would live on stage. And so about last March, we kind of had our annual conversation about, is now the time to work on a play? And her schedule is really tight with her other scholarship and teaching, and there happened to be this window where we could work on it, and we talked about what we would want to do. And we talked about doing a single play, and we really felt a pull to explore something larger, or at least something different. And what emerged was this interest from both of us in the narrative of Antigone, and her narrative that exists in the three Theban plays, Oedipus Tyrannus, Oedipus Colonus, and finally with Antigone.
And for the sake of those who are unfamiliar with Antigone, could you rapidly take us through the
Sure. So real quickly, I think most of our audience maybe knows the story of Oedipus, right? Antigone is his daughter, one of four kids that he has with Jocasta, who also happens to be his mother. And so she has Ismene as her other sister, and they have two brothers as well. And after Oedipus leaves Thebes, after he discovers the truth about his own origins, it is Antigone who actually leads him eventually towards, accompanies him around and takes him eventually to a place outside of Athens where he eventually dies. And then she returns to Thebes, and in a battle over Thebes, her two brothers kill each other in this battle, one defending the city and one attacking the city over who will rule the city. And she decides that God's laws supersede man's laws, and I will bury my brother even though he attacked the city. And the laws of man say you're not to touch this body, and she does. And that leads to her fulfilling her fate, which is her own death, which concludes that Theban trilogy and her narrative. So what we've done is we've really created a whole new play that's a combination of 5 separate plays, but really focusing on the Antigone narrative, and kind of taking what exists in those plays and pulling that out. So what we have is a Greek play, but an original Greek play in that we're just looking at Antigone. And so Right now, our title is Antigone, a Tragedy. And so it's really exciting to just kind of look at her narrative, and exclusively her narrative that runs through these separate plays.
No, that's great. So the role of Antigone in particular, other tragedies within the kind of education that we provide. How do you characterize it? What do you see to be the most significant set of reasons for why we ought to spend time either in study, reading through these plays, or in a much more vivid and active fashion through staging it and performing it? Why do this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, I think, that theater makers have to wrestle with right now. Like, what we do requires you to get off the couch and not watch Netflix. And so I think as theater makers, we have to kind of justify what we're doing for our audiences and for ourselves. The reason the Greek plays are considered classics, right, is because the questions they wrestle with, the questions they engage with are evergreen for us. This question of whose laws matter, God's laws, man's laws. What is the relationship between the two? Who determines where one stops and one ends or begins? And these are questions that the Antigone narrative is really asking of us as theater makers to wrestle with, but also then, of course, finally, when we open and perform it for our audiences, how are we to think about these really important questions? And the Greek plays, more than many, are fearless in their ability to take the most dangerous questions, the most dangerous ideas, and where a community can come together in real time, which is essential to theater that doesn't exist in any other performative medium, in real time, and then engage with these questions in a thoughtful way in the safety of fiction, in the safety of play. And when it's done well, there's nothing like it. There's really nothing like it.
So, you mentioned Netflix as one reason why we've sort of culturally lost the significance of engaging with this kind of work, and I think of one of the important mission elements of the University of Dallas is to reintroduce this art and other arts to our students, certainly our faculty and staff, but others in the community, right? This is part of a Catholic education, to engage with these great Greek texts that were written prior to the birth of Christ, and yet speak in a timeless manner, and also help us to appreciate the difference that Christianity makes. And I've sometimes heard that there can't truly be a Christian tragedy. Is that true? I didn't warn you I was going to ask that question.
No, that is an interesting question. I mean, I think that particular question, I suspect, has been addressed perhaps most indirectly by a lot of the modern playwrights. And that makes me think instantly of O'Neill, who actually shares a kinship, I think, with Sophocles, in that they both turn to the gods in Sophocles' case, and O'Neill turns to his god and is screaming into the void and hears only silence in return. And I think certainly I identify with that in certain moments of my own life, and that was something that tormented O'Neill. And he has a number of plays that deal very specifically with that question of how are we to live in a world where we know there's a God, and yet the God is cold and appears disinterested at best. And these are just really fascinating, wonderful questions in terms of what they're doing in their work as in regards to that.
But ultimately, according to Chesterton and others, Christian drama is a comedy, right? I'm thinking of the Chronicles of Narnia, in part because I just finished, I think, my 6th reading of all 7 of those novels, and the last battle, right? Which things seem to be coming to a tragic end, and yet don't. And yet the role of time is somewhat ambiguous, right? So it's on the other side of eternity where the comedic really comes into play. But Narnia, as it was known, comes to a rather, I don't know if you're familiar with the last battle, but
Mhm.
An end that's pathetic in many respects because of the human passions involved. You know, but and I.
It's the comedy. We talk about this in the theater history class at UD. Is we talk a lot about the different definitions of tragedy and how they've evolved over time, and what is comedy, right? Because the basis for all of those discussions is Aristotle, right? Because we have his version of what he thinks tragedy ought to be or is. And what we don't get is his comedies.
Right.
And so sort of historically, comedy is, well, whatever tragedy isn't.
Yeah.
Has kind of become a kind of default answer to that. And certainly as a kind of contemporary theater maker, which I am, it's those kinds of questions we in the contemporary landscape, very few playwrights are kind of dealing very specifically in one vein, either tragic or comic in terms of their narrative structure, at least. But this question of Christianity and can it only be produce comedy? I'm not sure. There is. I guess it depends on what specifically you think tragedy is. If it's a kind of wisdom through suffering, which is kind of a very Aeschylean vision for what tragedy is, perhaps there could be Christian tragedy. If it's a Sophoclean tragedy, where one's fate is enacted, happens to them, and there doesn't seem to be any wisdom gained from that experience at all, and no real kind of redemption, then perhaps not.
Well, I wonder, Oedipus at Colonus has this mysterious ending where he disappears, he's whisked away. It seems as though there's a kind of achievement of wisdom on his part, or quasi-divinization. I don't know. But I agree. I mean, the chorus is very explicit at the end of the Oresteia that wisdom only comes through suffering, right? I mean that.
Right.
But in Sophocles doesn't have that same emphasis. But I'm not sure if I'm ready to yield.
There is a stunning moment, and when we were reading this play originally with our actors in our rehearsal space, those who are not familiar with the Oedipus at Colonus play, when we got through that portion of our text, they're stunned because they said, "Gosh, this feels a lot like." Maybe what happens to Mary or what happens to Jesus, right? Their body doesn't actually die on this earth. So they were like really, really interested in that. And
Jesus really did die.
Well, yeah. but
Mary's ascension. Yeah.
So they identify with that really strongly, and he does have this switch, and it's interesting. Is it almost comes sort of out of nowhere, and he doesn't within the play take it. He doesn't seem to have this kind of slow turn towards a vision of self in which he seems to have learned from his anger, his hubrism, his hubristic self. That seems not to change.
Right.
And that's really interesting, too.
That's true. You know what? I led a discussion of Antigone with some alumni in Washington, D.C., and I focused on Creon, in part because in some respects he can seem like a contemporary politician, right? He's what Aristotle would call in some respects the tragic hero in the play, although Antigone, you could say as well, but it's really a play about Creon.
Very much so. The Antigone play itself, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, is it wrong to look at that kind of work and pull some lessons for civil discourse or political thinking? I mean, is that the wrong mode in which one should be engaging a play like Antigone?
Not if you want to, I don't think. as one experiences the play in real time and performance, I think a mature playgoer doesn't go to plays exclusively for kind of moral lessons or how to live. That can be something one derives from the experience of attending or participating in a play in terms of how we experience a play. But I'm not sure that that's the exclusive and only the sole aim of attending a play. I mean, I think there is a lot of potential wisdom in Creon's downfall and his intransigence, and both political and personal intransigence, and maybe there's some contemporary takeaways there.
Loses his son, and who was engaged to Antigone. It's really It's tragic as
it is, as you point out. It is Antigone's play until it's not, and then it's Creon's play, and so that's absolutely right. It very much becomes his play, and very much becomes, certainly as it ends, becomes his tragedy. And
so if the audience wanted to, our listening audience wanted to find out details about the play and vie for tickets, how would they do that?
So tickets are going to be available about 2 weeks before we open. We open March 28th, Saturday, and we run through Palm Sunday. We close Sunday at Palm Sunday, and we have performances every day but Monday. And tickets are available on the University of Dallas website.
Very reasonably priced.
Very reasonably priced. So students are free, of course, and general public tickets are only $10, and it's a great value. I think it's going to be a really, really fascinating play, and it's exciting to see. We haven't done a Greek play as one of our major productions in almost 25 years.
Whoa. And that website is udallas.edu,
That's
right?
correct, udallas.edu/drama.
All right, very good. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan Sanford with the University of Dallas segment that we do every fourth Monday of the month. And I was just there at UD last night speaking after the 7 o'clock Mass, and I even said, hey, you know what, tune in. And so I'm sure there's some UD folks that are listening right now. And also, Professor Kyle Lemieux, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And also to your wife, Dr. Teresa Danzy. For your work in theater, and looking forward to this. March 28th is when it starts, and so go to udallas.edu. Thanks again to both of you, and also thanks to our first guests as well. If you were listening in the first half and you were intrigued by the Courageous Truth Apologetics Without Apology Conference, it's going to be at Mount St. Michael Catholic School on Friday evening, March 27th, and Saturday, March 28th. Interesting. Those are basically starting at the same time, aren't they? So that's going to be a busy weekend. And the website for that event is courageoustruth.org, courageoustruth.org. So thanks to all of our guests. Thanks for Diane handling the social media, and Sissel just doing what Sissel does, which is pretty much everything behind the glass and keeping this show on the air. And we'll be back next Monday for another Good News show, and also Friday with GRN Alive. And don't forget, if you want to buy those car raffle tickets, either call me or email me. Dave Palmer at grnonline.com is my email. Or just go to the website, grnonline.com. You have exactly 1 week to buy raffle tickets. And then March 2nd, raffle tickets end. And then March 6th, Friday, during the GRN Live show, we'll be doing the drawing. Somebody's going to win a 2020 Cadillac CT5, and it could be you. All right? All right, thanks, everybody. God bless you. Have a great rest of your week, and happy beginning of Lent on Wednesday. We'll see you.
Thanks for joining us for the Good News Show here on KATH 910 AM on the Guadalupe Radio Network. Please join us next week at the same time for the next Good News Show.
Strap on your favorite pair of running shoes and get ready for the 3rd annual Crusader Spirit Run. Choose